welcome to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Barbee. I would like to encourage everyone on my Facebook friends list, everyone in my social groups, and all of my listeners worldwide. Please do me a favor. Hit that like button and share this video podcast with your friends. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you are subscribed to my YouTube channel. It's free. Help make this video podcast go viral by posting this link on your Facebook page, your Instagram page, and or on your Twitter page. This video podcast is available in 3 forms: audio, video, and as a written text in order for us to reach our audience. If you are listening to this audio podcast on Anchor, just click on the YouTube icon to connect to my YouTube channel. If you are serious about doing business with me, then I suggest that you exchange emails with me so that I can email you everything that I do online. I encourage all of my listeners to follow me on my Medium page. This is where I post my transcripts so that you can read my full speech word for word. I use this platform to interact with everyone on my friends list, everyone in my social groups by giving Black business owners free airtime to promote their products and service. I give people in the faith community an opportunity to share the gospel of Jesus Christ. I give Black authors and ordinary law-abiding citizens an opportunity to share their special talents and skills to my listeners from around the globe. After the show, I offer my guest speakers an incentive by teaching them how to create their own podcasts and YouTube channel to help them earn extra revenue. I also assist people on my Facebook friends list with creating basic websites, finding college scholarships, grants, housing, and legal services all for free. I'm not interested in writing and publishing more books, but rather producing quality Black empowerment films and creating successful Black businesses. I am not online to beg for donations. I want to exchange something of value. My thing is, if I'm going to ask for something, then I'm going to have a product or service behind it, like my revised book or my virtual store. This video podcast is an extension of the grassroots community activist movement. Over here, we promote critical thinking while discussing social issues throughout the diaspora and on the African continent until the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago materialize. It's my hope that through this podcast and through my social groups, I can connect with other like-minded Black people, African people, Afro-Caribbean people, Afro-Brazilian people, and others who would work with me directly in turning my vision and plan for Black America and Africa into a reality. Once we get this film project fully funded and made and get our Christian business up and running, then I would love to invite many of you to Chicago, Illinois to speak or preach during our live events. Through the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago, we will help pay for your travel and hotel expenses, depending on our budget and sponsorship. We will also compensate you for your time and talent. Our objective is to keep our community informed and connected. Please mark your calendar for Saturday, June 24th, 2023. Theme, GRCAM of Africa. Reaching out to the global African family worldwide. I am encouraging people in my African group, GRCAM of Africa, to please stand up and be a part of our panel. Those of you from the following African nations: South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Angola, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. We have to practice first using StreamYard so that we can do a professional show during the virtual conference. As soon as I'm able to gather at least 5 to 8 people from my African group and each African nation to be on my panel, then we can discuss the importance of GRCAM of Chicago, first in America for credibility in the African American community and throughout the Black world. Our target audience are African immigrants in America, Afro-Brazilians / Afro-Latinos, and Afro-Caribbeans in America, African immigrants in Canada and Europe. Once we get our film project fully funded and made and the proceeds begin pouring in, then we can begin building GRCAM Chicago and also begin launching our African tours in 10 African nations, the ones I just mentioned above. Beginning in South Africa. You have my word because I'm saying this on camera. We need you to support our cause first by purchasing my revised book, either the ebook for $8.23 or the paperback for $7.65 plus shipping and handling on Amazon. Read my story for yourself. If you agree with my vision and plan, then I would like for you to make arrangements with me to come on the show so that we can talk about it. I provide the link in the comment section below this video podcast. Those of you who will work with me and Sister Renee will go down in history for doing something positive for melanated people starting in Chicago. Black America and Black Chicago has rejected and overlooked my vision and plan for 31 years. What has that proved? Because all of the pushback I endured, my Christian business will be membership based. Africa, if you're serious about me bringing my Christian business to your nation, then work with me and getting this film popping and getting my revised book on the bestsellers list. The time from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. American Central Time, 3 p.m. Canadian Time, 8 p.m. West African Time, 9 p.m. South African Time, 10 p.m. East African Time, and 8 p.m. UK Time. Instructions on how to participate on the show. First, watch my video podcast. This is called Side A. After I finish my presentation, then I will open up the phone lines through Facebook Messenger. This is called Side B. You can interact with me in real time, either by voice call by clicking on the phone icon or by video call by clicking on the camera icon. Today's topic of discussion is as follows. GRCAM taking the lead in uniting the African American community, the African immigrant community, the Afro-Brazilian / Afro-Latino community, and the Afro-Caribbean community within the United States of America. Open season on Black youth in America and challenging the Black churches in our inner cities to work with us to improve our community and the Black family for the next generation. Our first topic, GRCAM taking the lead in uniting the African American community, the African immigrant community, the Afro-Brazilian / Afro-Latino community, and the Afro-Caribbean community within the United States of America. In the first week of June in Chicago, we had 46 people who were shot, 9 fatally across the city, specifically on the west and south side of Chicago, in the Black neighborhoods as well as in the Latino neighborhoods. One of the biggest challenges for me is to convince African immigrants in Chicago to work with the African American community. When they hear stories like this, that turns people away from wanting to work with the African American community. The senseless violence and the negative images from the media plays a big role. I understand what our African brothers and sisters are saying. They did not come to America to get involved with Black American politics. When I go to the Ghana Fest, I usually pay $10 fee. And then I pass out between 8 to 900 book flyers. Yet I don't see an increase in my book sales. What I want people from Ghana and other African nations to understand is that we have to get along here first in America before we can bring the diaspora to the African continent. We have to have this conversation. When I come to Africa, I am coming to expand what we will build in America, the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. I need my international friends from South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Angola, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. If you're serious about doing business with me, then, and for me to bring the best and brightest of the diaspora to your African nation, then I need for you all to step up and come on the show so that we can encourage Africans who reside in America, Canada, or Europe to support our film project and to help get my revised book on that bestsellers list, so that way people can take our cause serious. After social integration and cultural assimilation was completed, Dr. King Jr. said he integrated black people into a burning house. 2 weeks before his assassination, he was promoting black economic empowerment and started talking about reparations for descendants of American slaves. I have a video clip on my Medium transcript about Dr. King Jr.'s expressing his support for reparations. To listen to it, just go to my Medium transcript and scroll down to show and prove. As I mentioned in my revised book, social integration was the worst decision black people made, because prior to that we had our own hospitals, schools, and black-owned businesses. I believe socioeconomics is something that black people need to understand. GRCAM Chicago will promote black economic empowerment to our members and students. The white supremacist financial elites don't want black people to learn about socioeconomics because they fear competition. Black people won't change when they see the light. They will change when they feel the burn. That means when things get worse. Our film project, Hood Liberator, Made in Chicago, The War Against Willie Lynch Begins, is a solution-based docudrama which is based on my experience growing up in the inner cities of Chicago and the purpose why I created GRCAM. We need everyone on my friends list and everyone in my social groups to support our film project, and also to read my story for yourself. If you agree with my vision and plan for Black America, then make arrangements to come on this platform so that we can talk about this and get others involved. You all are our distribution network. This is our Black Panther moment, except it's not owned by Disney. It's owned by us. We want to get this film in front of 500 million people worldwide. We offer a 21st century solution, both domestically within the United States of America and throughout the diaspora. GRCAM is my gift to Black millennials, Generation Z, and my group members. It's my hope that we can eventually create our own Black film industry. GRCAM getting ready to change the industry. Since our inception in 1991, the grassroots community activist movement has been at the forefront of promoting Black economic empowerment within the African American community. Our objective is to form an alliance with the African immigrant community, the Afro-Caribbean community, and the Afro-Brazilian/Afro-Latino community within the United States of America and eventually around the globe in such places as Europe and Canada, as well as on the African continent. GRCAM would take the lead in this new black movement in the 21st century in solving black issues within the United States of America. Our first task is to get our film project fully funded and made so that the proceeds from the film will give us an opportunity to build the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. GRCAI of Chicago will be a multi-purpose facility. In GRCAI of Chicago, our objective is to create industries that will benefit our group and our community. The easy part is to complain about what other people are doing to us. The hard part is to take personal accountability for your own actions or inactions. On this video podcast, we will learn how to own and control our industries. For example, the Koreans took over the black hair care industry. If GRCAI of Chicago was up and running today, we would train 100,000 black entrepreneurs to reclaim the black hair industry. It would be a lot harder to dominate that industry because of the competition. We have to reclaim our music industry. Imagine if we had as many black entrepreneurs as we have black entertainers. Our black entrepreneurs think in terms of systems and can control legitimate industries. Black entrepreneurs understand things like having access to capital, distribution, and monetization of a product, marketing, sales, and divisions. It is my hope that in due season we will offer social economic camps for black children and black teenagers so that they can learn the ins and outs of real estate, entrepreneurship, stock market, in order to shift the culture. Over here, our children will be well trained in socioeconomics. The West want your children to be athletes and rappers. In GRCAI, we will teach them that they are supposed to be leaders and walking into their greater works. The whole world wants our children to be enslaved. In GRCAI, we are M1, meaning melanated first. We will be the most economic group of people on earth if we work together and turn my ideas into a reality. We will teach podcast technology, offering audience targeting and data-driven creativity. We aim to take the lead in creating black empowerment films, podcasting platforms for our black authors and black entrepreneurs / African entrepreneurs and professional podcasters globally. We will offer a comprehensive set of tools that will teach our creators how to publish and grow their podcast businesses. We aim to become an accredited institution offering an immersive curriculum that integrates technical knowledge with artistic explorations and creativity taught by industry experienced professionals. On-campus associate's degree in animation, auto production, entertainment business, film production, music production. Online degrees in animation, auto production, entertainment business, digital filmmaking, graphic design, podcasting, music production, writing for films and TV. Blockchain technology. We will also offer vocational training. We will have a recreational center which will offer state-of-the-art bowling, paintball games, gravity ropes, miniature golf, rock climbing, inflatables, and arcade games. Corporate events such as hosting business gatherings, karaoke, comedy, dinner, and dancing. Special events such as birthday parties, anniversaries, bachelor or bachelorette parties, and activities from pool hall, karaoke, comedy, dinner and dance, and more. Please leave a public comment on my YouTube page about the topic. Most of all, share this video podcast with your friends. This will help get the ball rolling. Our second topic, open season on Black youth in America. There's a story out of Florida that I covered back in 2019. The white supremacist financial elites want the state of Florida to become a sundown town. When we start talking about white privilege, then this is the best case scenario. According to the article from Local 10 entitled, quote, Gunman Gets 20 Years of Probation Following Racist Tirade on Brickell Avenue Bridge. In contrast, in the case of Marissa Alexandra, she was facing 20 years in prison for firing a warning shot at her estranged husband under Stand Your Ground law in Florida. A white man on camera with a handgun yelling racist slurs only received 20 years of probation. He was charged with carrying a concealed weapon, aggravated assault with a hate crime, and improper exhibition of a firearm. The judge said that everyone, including the victim, agreed to the plea deal. It was a peaceful protest about the lack of affordable housing. Mark Bartlett plea deal consisted of adjunction, withheld 20 years probation, no contact with victims, 320 community service hours, anger management, and racial sensitivity course. There's another story out of South Carolina from CNN entitled, quote, a convenient store owner who shot a 14-year-old boy in the back has been charged with murder. South Carolina authority says, unquote. The murder of Cyrus Carmack Belton remind me of Latasha Harlins. The African American community came together and put that business owner out of business. According to CNN, the store owner has been identified as 58-year-old Rick Chow, who was arrested and charged with Cyrus' murder, according to the sheriff's office. Those of you who are parents, please educate your children about their environment, which they are in, from the educational system, the criminal justice system, and the media. All of them are aligned and on code against black people. Notice, CNN is not saying a word about the immigrant component. Every time a black person is harmed, the mainstream media tries to justify it. None of these biased media outlets were asking questions why Kyle Rittenhouse had a weapon. He did a straw man gun purchase of an assault weapon. Law enforcement did nothing to him or his friend who bought a gun for him. Family, we have to stop patronizing people in the African American community who have a deep hatred towards us. And that's real. Treat those people the way you treat me in terms of not supporting my revised book and my virtual store that I have been pushing Once we build GRCAM of Chicago, then we will focus on creating our own ADL, Anti-Defamation League, but it will be the Black Anti-Defamation League, which will be similar to Jewish people in order to protect black people and African people in America. We need competent black men and competent black women on our team. Recognize real when you hear it consistently. To understand the code, you would need to read my revised book. All the principles in my book, that's the code. Our objective is to create our own economic base. That's the African American community. We also need to support our black media apparatus. Please leave a public comment on my YouTube page about the topic. Most of all, share this video podcast with your friends. This will help get the ball rolling. Our third topic, challenging the black churches in our inner cities to work with us to improve our communities and the black family for the next generation. Throughout history, God's word and teaching have been misused. I mentioned this in my revised book on faith, chapter 3. The white supremacist financial elites taught their slaves that their reward will be in the next life if they obeyed their owners on earth. Ephesians chapter 6 verses 5 through 8. But the Bible also says Jesus set the captives free. Isaiah chapter 61 verse 1. The Bible also states that no one can serve two masters. Matthew chapter 6 verses 24. An evil person who is money hungry could use the Bible to distort God's word. That's where prosperity gospel preachers come in. Name it and claim it. The most cited scriptures I recall growing up in the church was Malachi chapter 3 verse 8, quote, "Will a man rob God?" unquote. Another scripture that was equally cited was Matthew chapter 19 verse 24 that said, quote, "And again I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God," unquote. This scripture is not anti-wealth. The Bible challenged those who acquire wealth and power to use it to help others who do not have resources. From my understanding, it is wealth inequalities, not wealth itself, that the Bible opposes. The Bible also says, quote, "A man leaveth an inheritance to his children's children, and the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just," unquote. Proverbs 13 verse 22, King James Version. The GRCAM of Chicago is about acquiring wealth and resources through our natural talents in order to benefit the African American community, as well as become a community advocate to help improve the lives of black people who have been historically denied access to the quality of life. The Lord has called me to build a great black institution, something that can be passed down to the next generation if we work together as a team. The GRCAM of Chicago will not only help benefit the African American community, but also each African nation that we will visit, because we will meet people from my African group, GRCAM of Africa, in person, and they will work with us to set up chapters in each African nation that will receive us, so that we can do international trade among our members and our people. My goal is to make sure GRCAM members become the world's experts in socioeconomics. Over here, we are creating a new black movement which will sustain itself for the next 100 years. What you pass down to your children will be passed down to their children. It's the opposite of a cursed generation. The acronym for POOR is passing over opportunities repeatedly. Some people remain poor because every opportunity that God gives them a way out of being poor, they ignore the opportunity. The Grassroots Community Activist Movement is a virtual Christian socialist organization. For me, Christian socialism is an authentic form of Christianity. A Christian socialist is a form of socialism based on the teachings of Jesus. We believe that capitalism is idolatrous and rooted in greed, social inequality, and institutionalized racism, which most Christian denominations consider a moral sin. We will focus on what we stand for: love, compassion, social justice, and liberation theology. Jesus told us to focus on the least of these in society, according to Matthew chapter 25, verse 35 through 40. He also commanded us to be a witness to others, not just for us to read his word, but to activate social change in the world, according to Matthew chapter 28, verses 16 through 20. We will be committed to the healing ministry of Jesus by showing compassion to inner city youth and their families, which will promote dignity to the people and community we will serve. We will promote an authentic form of Christianity, which is for me, Christian socialism. We will emphasize the importance of morals and character development for both Christians and non-Christians. Social integration took away our black-owned schools, our hospitals, and our black-owned businesses. The black church is the last institution that was not destroyed by social integration. It survived centuries of chattel slavery, Jim Crow, convict leasing, mass incarceration, the crack epidemic, and government policies of benign and neglect. The black church is the most qualified black institution to help lead this fight for reparations for descendants of American slaves or foundational black Americans. Our God made Africa the most resource-filled continent on earth, and this is why many non-blacks have an issue with African people. God created us first from the soil of the earth. Africans got caught up with being tribal, and that gave our open enemies an opportunity to divide and conquer. Africans were enslaved and colonized by Europeans and Arabs. This was not God's intention. The Bible tells us to aid the impoverished. What group of people are the most impoverished and despised around the world than melanated people? It is on this basis of this spirituality that we challenge all the black churches in the United States of America to expand their traditional roles and use their visibility to partner with us so that we can make a positive impact in the African American community, starting in Chicago. Religion played a role in American slavery. Modern religion can play a positive role in carrying out biblical instructions in correcting wealth inequalities between blacks and whites in the United States of America. The Catholic Church approves slavery. They have blood on their hands. Don't take my word for it. We live in the information age. Do the research. We also need to look at these mega corporations that were heavily involved with the slave trade. They owe reparations too. The black church was one of the tools that slave owners used to socially engineer black people. Colonial laws of 1672 discouraged slave holders from baptizing their slaves, saying, "Our ancestors did not have a soul, just like animals." In time, the white supremacist financial elites decided to use the Bible to promote black inferiority for their own benefit. They thought religion would encourage slaves to be Christ-like, act submissive, and be obedient at all times. In their minds, this helped justify black enslavement. These self-serving interpretations of the Bible alleging that black people were cursed. When your children attend these public schools, they are learned from the descendants of slave owners. Do you really think they have your children's best interests? They are being indoctrinated just like our ancestors from those plantations. They are learning to become corporate slaves, becoming excessive consumers and caught up in student loans. The white supremacist financial elites selected a black person who they felt could be useful to influence the black masses in doing their bidding. They were instructed to teach other slaves to value hard work, remain obedient, accept their lot in life, and look forward to the big pie in the sky. That would be their reward. These were the traditions that was passed down from generation to generation. In 1865, when our ancestors were so-called free from American slavery, no one separated from the backstabbers during slavery. Now we have all kinds of sellouts among us and in our families. Well, the buck stops here. We will declare war on this Willie Lynch mentality within black society. We will separate ourselves from the enemy within the black culture, such as the black boule, urban terrorists, hardened criminals, degenerates, and pedophiles. We will also declare war on this colonized mindset among our African immigrants in America and on the African continent. This is why I have little to no support for black America. That's all right. It is what it is. My message is not for all black people. Some of you who prefer to remain in America and continue fighting for the rest of your life, more power to you. Black people in America have no control over illegal immigration, no control over our neighborhoods being gentrified left and right. So the question is, what are you fighting for? We have a weird relationship with America because we were born here and our ancestors helped build the United States of America. Yet at the same time, the white supremacist financial elites don't make us feel like we're Americans. As for me and my house, I am reclaiming my ancestral homeland, which is Africa. As soon as I'm able to get my management team in place and know without a shadow of a doubt that I will be able to sustain myself and be in a position to offer tangibles to my African group members, GRCAM of Africa, then I will reside in South Africa and assist Africans that want more out of life. Some people say that illegal immigration is good for black people. There's a lot of evidence to say that when you're allowing people to cross the border in droves and bus them to black neighborhoods like Chicago and New York, then eventually those people will begin competing against black people for resources. If black Americans do not embrace my vision and plan, then by 2050, black people as a collective will become a permanent underclass in America. The black vote will be diluted and worthless. We're the only group of people who put everyone else's needs before our own interests. That was done by design. The use of the Bible to control black people hasn't worked on all blacks. Blacks like Nat Turner used the scriptures to embolden blacks to oppose slavery. They preach coded words, coded sermons, and identified with the Hebrews from the Bible. After the Civil War and after American slavery, the black churches assisted 4 million former slaves by providing them with food and clothing. The black church helped create banks, newspapers, insurance companies, and other black-owned businesses. God is the hidden superpower for black people. The black church has been a powerful catalyst for some of the greatest black liberation struggles of all times, the civil rights movement in the United States of America. Your true purpose is for us to connect and to build GRCAM of Chicago. The system that is oppressing black people worldwide is capitalism through structural economics and political inequality between blacks and whites. Caesar Augustus is the father of capitalism, and he was a white supremacist. He imposed his system and his economy on the world that was not from God. He actually thought he was God. Luke chapter 2, verse 1, quote, "And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed," unquote. King James Version. Acts chapter 17, verse 6 and 7, quote, "And then they found them not. They drew Jason and certain brethren unto the rulers of the city, crying, These that have turned the world upside down are come here also, whom Jason hath received, and these all do contrary to the decrees of Caesar, saying that there is another king, one, Jesus," unquote. King James Version. For example, when the white supremacists came to Africa, they came to kill, steal, and destroy our way of life. When the white supremacists came to the New World, they came to kill, steal, and destroy the native people's way of life. When the white supremacists came to the Caribbeans, they came to kill, steal, and destroy the native people's way of life. When the white supremacists came to Latin America or South America, they came to kill, steal, and destroy the native people's way of life. When the white supremacists came to Australia, they came to kill, steal, and destroy the native people's way of life. In Africa, the white supremacist financial elites want to continue raping Africa of her natural resources, which is our birthright. God gave Africa to melanated people. The whole continent is ours, but black Americans want to keep fighting for America. Well, do you. All we can do is do the best that we can to help improve the African American community, and that's it. I do not want to be fighting for the rest of my life for a country that does not belong to me. The real battle is for Africa. If we lose Africa, we lose everything. GRCAM of Chicago will take the lead in rebuilding the inner cities of Chicago, as well as take the lead in improving the African economy through our African tours and exchanging goods and services among our brothers and our people worldwide. For example, entertainers like Rick Ross, who sing about how great they are for being a drug dealer. The CIA allowed crack to flood the low-income African-American community during the 80s and 90s. To learn more about this topic, just go to my Medium transcript and scroll down to show and prove. The video clip is entitled, quote, "Did the CIA actually sell crack in the 1980s?" unquote. They also allowed drug cartels to run rampant in the low-income African-American community, to pass out military weapons to rival street gangs, which was a recipe for disaster. When we reflect back to the crack era and how mass incarceration affected the African-American community, notice who the white supremacist financial elites use to our youth should be their role models. My drug story is that my elder brother ended up becoming addicted to drugs, while my middle brother ended up becoming a small-time drug dealer. It affected my family structure because I was one who ended up being taken out of my home and became a ward of the state. I was placed in several foster homes and eventually ended up in a child's group home until I became a teenager. I fought to be returned to my rightful place with my moms, who ended up developing major health issues over my situation. I was blessed to get out of the foster care system and return back to my mom's. I watched a lot of my friends die over senseless violence when I was living in the inner cities. I was blessed to graduate from high school. I was blessed to obtain a college scholarship. I graduated from college, and I tried to start my own Christian business to help improve the social conditions in my community, but I lacked two things, the capital and the manpower. So that's why I wrote and published my revised book. All I have is my revised book, my virtual store, my online groups, and this platform. My film project is my last attempt to try to do something positive for my racial group in America. Black America has rejected and overlooked my vision and plan for 31 years. This is why I'm reaching out to the global African family. My question to the Black grassroots and to the global African family: when will you step up and work with me in getting this film project fully funded and made so that we can move from behind the computer and make our presence known in the African American community? Do y'all hear what I'm saying? This is real. I'm not just doing this, for my health. I do these video podcasts because I'm trying to get my message out there, and I'm praying to the Lord that He would connect me with brave and smart people just like Sister Renee, so we can get the ball rolling, because me and her can't do everything. As I mentioned on my platform a few weeks ago, Daniel Penny, the man who choked to death Jordan Neely on a New York subway, his attorney had raised $1 million within a week. That's white supremacy being on code. In contrast, I created a GoFundMe page last April 2022 so that everyone on my Facebook friends list and everyone in my social groups would know exactly where the funds for our film project would go. Out of 1,679 people on my Facebook friends list, only 5 people have donated to our film project on our GoFundMe page. Then you wonder why our community remains jacked up. I created this platform to broadcast my vision and plan for Black America and Africa. Drugs are very painful, and they are a curse. I'm very anti-drugs, and I do not associate with anyone who is involved with drugs. And if I find out, those people will be cut out of my life. I'm just being real. In the comment section, let us know if you know anyone who was killed over drugs or incarcerated over drugs. 30 years later, you have all these young people who grew up in this chaotic environment. You have the President of the United States interviewing Cardi B, who's telling young girls how great it was for her when she was a stripper. The breakdown of the Black family, the deterioration of the African American community, the lack of morals and standards were a result of social integration that triggered many of these social problems. It destroyed our culture, our Black-owned businesses, and our schools. Many Black preachers are afraid to promote a Black agenda because they depend on non-Blacks for supplemental income, government grants, and or corporate sponsorship. This is why they avoid anything that is controversial. The reason why the Democrats are getting upset with the Black grassroots is because we are holding their feet under the fire. They don't expect for us to demand tangibles in the forms of cash reparation and for an anti-Black hate crime bill. All they think they need to do for Black people is give us more lip service by talking about racism, diversity, equity, and inclusions. The Democrats want to promote degeneracy in the Black world. If the white supremacist financial elites can keep us in a degenerate state, then we will never progress as a people globally. As long as we don't progress, we will continue to be used and abused by other groups. I encourage my group members and my